Good morning. How are you today? Ah, this is Emily Windsor Craig, and I thought what I would do today is talk about why our country has become so corrupted, how that happened, okay, and it has to do with vices that were not dealt with in the Holy Law commandments, but that Jesus articulated that somehow got overruled and plowed under in the economic system of today. All right, so give me a moment and I'll take on this topic.
What is it you want us to do?
Okay, I'm going to try to do this without notes. And I'm going to talk about treachery, protection, racketeering, and divide and conquer. These three vices, okay, were not covered in the holy commandments of God. And so when Jesus came here and taught, he taught, let your no mean no, all right? In other words, say what you do and do what you say. All right. He criticized the usury and elitism and classism of the priestly class because they had created a protection racket. They got paid whether they worked at doing anything useful or not. And Jesus also dealt with divide and conquer at Matthew 18:15, when he counseled that when somebody sins against you, you have to go to them directly and not just snipe from a distance, because sniping from a distance is creating divisions. And the church has been great at dividing and conquering and being righter over doctrine and dogma. The church itself has been one of the factors creating the most divisions. All right. So let's take these one at a time. What is treachery? Treachery is hypocrisy. It's saying one thing and doing something else. Let's look at some examples. All right. The water companies are supposed to provide clean water. All right. So what do? They add fluoride. So their mission to provide clean water is compromised by the fluoride that ossifies the pineal gland, which is the source of cosmic consciousness. Who else doesn't do what they say? Well, the lawyers don't teach law. They profiteer on people's problems and conflicts and disputes. This is a protection racket called problem, reaction, solution. Okay, all right. Medical. A mammogram that causes more cancer than it cures. Okay. A coloscopy, which doesn't ease any situation, it just looks at it. All right, these tests, these procedures that merely look at the physical indicators rather than relieving any discomfort. These are protection rackets that the allopathic school believes are legitimate. Some of us don't think those practices are legitimate, and we look for less invasive ways of handling our health problems. All right, we all know about the politicians who promise one thing and do something else. Okay, these are all examples of treachery. All right, the use of glyphosate as a desiccant on commodity grains has increased the incidence of cancer because it dehydrates the body cells. Doctors and scientists know this already. Has glyphosate been removed from food and from the marketplace? No, because it makes the process of harvesting easier and more convenient for somebody. Okay, for somebody. I found out about 8 years ago when I was having sleep apnea and having problems breathing. I called the local air quality control board and I asked them, what is the percentage of oxygen saturation in the air? And they couldn't tell me. So I looked it up online, state-wise, nationally. No air quality control board ever test the air for the oxygen saturation. Why would they do that? To help people with allergies, asthma, and COPD, to help people with high blood pressure and heart problems. But air quality control boards are run by people who don't care about those populations. Okay? Let's talk about hypocrisy in utilities, all right? Utilities, social media, under paragraph 230 are allowed to act as publishers and pick and choose what they allow to be disseminated rather than as an open forum where everyone can speak their mind, okay? They say one thing, they do something else, all right? You see what I'm saying? Treachery is all over our system because the practice of propaganda and advertisements and secrecy have made real, truthful knowledge hard to obtain. Okay, that's the first one, treachery. The second one, protection racketeering, is the situation where somebody says to you, if you pay me, I won't hurt you. Okay, it's a situation of robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay, you're robbing me in order to promise to keep me safe. Vaccines are a prime example of a protection racket. CDC and Tony Fauci own patents on vaccines, which they profit from when the vaccines sell. So, of course, what are they going to do? They're going to be the salesman for the vaccines. That's how that works. A protection racket. You could say a lottery is a protection racket, and lotteries were illegal and unlawful until what, the 70s? All right. Other protection rackets. Some unions have taken to ideological, if you don't pay your dues, we're going to pursue an ideology against you. Some unions use a protection racket. So it's demanding money from somebody in order that they can be safe from what you're going to do. All right, that's a protection racket. Now, treachery in the Islamic idiom is called taqiyya, and a protection racket in the Islamic idiom is called a jizya. It's the protection tax, all right? And then there's divide and conquer, which is called jihad, all right? And so the reason that the Pope and Islam and the globalists and the New World Order are all on the same page is because they all operate openly from treachery, protection rackets, and divide and conquer. All right. They all abide by secrecy and human trafficking. Where's human trafficking? It's in human resource management. It's in social services, adoptions, and truancies. Okay. These vices have saturated our society since the 1880s, when the Masonic orders got into power seriously. All right. And the third one, divide and conquer. It wasn't pursued in the Holy Law Commandments at all, but the way Jesus talked about it, he said, let you all be in agreement. And if you have a problem, you go straight to the person who has sinned against you and you talk to him alone. And you don't bring in anybody else unless he refuses to listen to you. This is at Matthew 18:15. Okay. So Jesus dealt with two-faced, lying, treachery, protection, rackets, and divide and conquer. And it's just too bad that the church fell for some of these. And the church is still, because of the 501c3 protection racket, they are still protecting themselves rather than protecting the flock. And so I wanted to talk today about the unconscious, unarticulated vices that have been adopted and put to work in the United States that have created the corruption we see in Congress, in legal and medical professions, and in industry, whereas the people who work are called to obey all of the rules that they come up in commerce, but the corporations themselves do what they want. Gotcha. I hope this has been helpful to you. And if it has, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I like to consider my followers and subscribers and so on the responsive group of people that I care about. I'm doing this because I don't want you or your children or your grandchildren to live under the socialist treachery that and protection racket and divide and conquer that Marx taught. Marx taught Satanism. Okay, Marx taught say one thing, do something else, rob from the people who work and give to the people who don't, and divide against the rest of the world. Marx was the master of these three vices. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comments below. And I'll put the link to the law and to the 5th book of Matthew down below too. Bye-bye.